Hello! So, today is going to be a longer video than normal. I'm going to be making another rig. And as the same as last time, I'm going to need to first make the body for it. Unlike last time, however, I'm not going to be skipping through it as much. I want to actually do it in front of you so you can see what I do. Very first thing is, I don't want this hair, so I need to get rid of it. So, with it selected, I'm going to press Tab. And then I'm going to highlight over the bits I don't want and hit L. And I'm just going to do that for all these parts, highlighting over just the bits I want. Just need to press L. L stands for linked, and it allows you to select all of the linked parts and delete everything at once. So I think that's most of it. Oh no, there we got that. Doesn't matter if we miss anything because we can always go back in after. So if I move this up now, you can see that I get quite a bit of it, but not quite all of it. So I'm just going to go X, delete vertices. So back in again, selecting anything else. I can see here that there's obviously an issue. Click these, and go X, delete vertices. I think we got it all, but just to make sure, I'm going to go into wireframe mode. And yeah, so looking inside here, it looks like we've got everything. Perfect, so now we have just our character. I've already got a texture on it. Next up, I'm going to go in here, I'm going to select everything, and then go W, merge vertices by distance. I'm going to put the distance to a flat 0, and it's deleting 1401, and that's just combining some parts. You'll notice it looks weird. Turn off the auto smooth and I'll go back to what you're more likely to expect. The auto smooth makes it a bit more odd. Next up, I want to convert everything to quads because we don't want to play with these really annoying tries. So I'm going to type in here, triangles, tries to quads. And almost immediately it looks just so much better. But same as last time, there are more things we need to make adjustments for. So if I select this arm, you'll notice this arm not connected to the body or to anything else like that. There's also certain areas like this where we don't need this. We can dissolve this edge. We can dissolve this edge and this edge. Are just some edges that we just plainly do not need. And they're only there because the algorithm to calculate the removal of tries is not perfect. But it's okay because we are perfect and we have good eyes. Delete these ones. I'm just looking for anywhere that are tries. So you can see like this is obviously a try. Just get rid of that. By try I mean any side that has only 3 points. We want to have a solid 4 points everywhere. Next up, I'm going to do the thing that I probably could have already done here, but I'm going to go into this view, which is wireframe. So I went into front view with 1, but Roblox characters are all backwards, so I'm getting control 1. Then I go into wireframe by holding down the Z key and go into wireframe. And then on the vertex select mode, which is up here, I'm going to press B. It's going to drag down straight through the middle, making sure that I get everything. And I'm going to go X, delete, and then faces. And that should delete it perfectly down the middle, allowing me to add a modifier, mirror, and click the clipping button. That will now mean that it's all sort of connected up. The only issue is that we'll connect the legs, but we'll fix that ourselves manually because these should still have a face there. Oh, apparently they do not have a face there, but that's not an issue. We can do that ourselves. So if I select this now, I should be able to move it apart. I can. And similar with the last one, I'm going to select this one and this one. You'll notice I am selecting it in the wireframe mode because it allows me to select through to both sides, front and back. I'm going to press G and X. I'm opening up those legs. As odd as that sounds. Next up, I'm going to select the body and press H just to hide it. Now, checking again where the body is, I know that I don't need this whole top section of the leg here. So I'm going to go into front view, into wireframe view. I'm going to delete it. And I'm just going to delete faces. Move left to face. And now if I bring the body back, perfect. Hide this body, turn off the mirror just for ease of seeing. And I'm going to connect up this part, and I'm going to connect up this part. Like that. I can obviously now bring this back, and the legs aren't connected anymore. Perfect. And next up, let's go and have a look at these arms. So on the arms, let's make this head invisible quick. And the neck part. We don't want this piece because none of that is going to be useful. And make sure I'm also getting rid of those odd corner pieces. We've got a odd try here, so we're going to dissolve this edge. Make sure there's no odd tries anywhere else. Obviously this face could probably do with cleaning a little. That's why we want to do some cleaning, because we just revealed a hidden face, which would have caused smoothing errors. I'm now paranoid of where other faces might be hidden, so I'm going to quickly have a quick movement. To do this, all I'm doing is selecting the space and hitting G, and then because I don't want to move it, I use right click to put it back where it should be. As you can see, there are more bits here which are just disgusting. To clean this up, we're going to actually delete the whole, all of those edges, and I'm going to go and connect. See, what's this? So I hate Roblox models. It's disgusting. Delete that vertex outright. And I'm going to add in a face here, which will be an N-gon. N-gon being a 5-sided face. And then I'm going to add another one in here, which will be even worse N-gon. And I'm going to connect here to here, and I'm going to press J to connect it. And I'm going to press here to here and J to connect it. And that will then actually properly connect up those parts without it looking really odd, and because it's mirrored, it'll also occur on the other side. Perfect. Next up, let's get rid of this hand and the wrist. Now I'm going to select these faces, making sure I've got nothing else selected. Good, and delete them. Again, annoying triangle here, so let's dissolve that. All dissolve does is collapse it. So dissolve is often what you're going to want. I actually want to get rid of these faces, I think. Let's delete those faces. Just using the middle mouse button, analysing it. Again, going to have a quick shuffle movement around to make sure there's no faces hidden in this. Perfect. Now let's get rid of the arm and the torso. And I'm going to get rid of this again. Okay, so now, where's the best place to combine this up, do we think? So, because we need to combine this wrist to this hand, so at least these pieces need to go. All I'm doing is just selecting the bits I want, and I'm going to start connecting. So I'm going to want a piece here and here, because I feel like these two should be connected. I'm just going to double tap G to bring these up. And with all these pieces selected, I'm just going to press F to combine them together. I can obviously add extra loops around the arm and a hand if I wish to. Add one in here. And one in here. Maybe these two should actually be merged at center. And that allows us to merge these at center. Make sure I keep it nice and neat. Again, double tapping G to bring these pieces up. Just because they're a bit deep into the hand at the moment, which is not useful in any way. Not sure why Roblox wants them so deep into the hand. And the more you do this, by the way, the more you will hate the way that Roblox models. Because Roblox has some very disgusting modeling habits. I feel like we can have a face in here. Which allows here. Here. Don't. See, this is disgusting too. So if I added one in that, we don't want that. I'm trying to decide how I want this to go. So maybe this should go over here. And maybe I shouldn't have this one, so let's dissolve that for now. That would mean I require one around here. Which would get... it gets ended there. So if I were to dissolve this piece, if I'm going to have a triangle, I'd rather have it on the hand here, so I don't feel like this piece needs the triangle. That piece needs it there. I'm just cleaning up parts that I can clean up, and some parts are a lot less important than others. Because the hands don't really articulate, it doesn't matter too much. Next up, the arms are designed very specifically to look like they have clothes on. We don't need that because we're going to actually add clothes. So I'm going to go here, connected only, and I'm going to turn on this, and I'm going to smooth them down a little, like so. I'm going to do the same up here, same up here. Next up, with all of these selected, I'm going to bring them around, and I want them out. Because we want that classic T-pose that I know you all love. Now we need to find and think about how we can line these up. Because obviously I have added in a couple of lines. So in order to actually just check it, I'm going to Alt select this line, and I realise that verts is 12. Alt select this line, and I realise that verts is 11. So I do actually need an extra one. So I'm going to add this one, which also converts this triangle here into a quad, which is convenient. I'm going to make sure that it's not completely flat. Now if I check this line, it is now 12 verts on this line and 12 verts on this line. So this will now add up. Just a question of working out and deciding which pieces I want to. So if I merge these two at the center, bring this one over, let's merge these two at center, and these two at center. Trying to make them cleaned up as much as I can as I go, while also smoothing them out a little on both sides. Perfect. And merge these two at center. Notice that I'm spacing these out a lot more. and you will be thankful for that later, because you can use that to round stuff off and get some nice shapes going. Merge these two, merge these two, because we don't want our things to be perfectly square. I know Roblox is a square environment, but we want to be able to use 3D cloth, because we love some 3D cloth. At least I do. Making a cloth for these characters is probably the bit I enjoy the very most. So if you like that part or are looking forward to that part, then stay tuned, because I'm going to go into depth to all of those stages. I would like to use Marvelous Designer, really. That's what I would personally make clothes in, so I feel like not using Marvelous Designer would be somewhat betraying integrity, because I would be showcasing you a software that I realistically do not use. I don't think that would be intellectually honest. So I'm just going to smooth these vertices down now, which will just pull them in a little. And then I'm going to slightly even them out. So obviously we've got some slightly odd shapes at the moment. All we're doing is just even everything out here until it gets to a point where it doesn't look super obvious that there's being combined shapes, and that it flows a little bit more freely. And just make our way around. Have a little here. There we go. So I'm gonna just move that face down a little, and these two down, and there we go. We have a little indent here, which means if I go over at the right angle, I expect there's a slight, yeah, very small, but very slight. I expect also if I went and take the auto smooth, it's going to look horrendous. Yep, but there is no horrendous black line, except from maybe there, which probably means if I pull these up. Okay. So, with those parts connected, we've got this bit down here, which looks good. I know we've got the triangles on the corners, but that's fine because that's from a bevel. So next up, I think we need to start connecting up the arm, which means if I actually now press L on this, it should select the whole arm. Yes, it does. So let's push it out the way, but we don't want to get rid of it completely. And if I actually select this line, scale it up a little just so that it's properly matching all the way around, we have the 12 vertices. Obviously we don't even have a gap here, so I'm going to have to make a gap, and maybe the next one down as well. Get rid of that face, and this loop has exactly 12 vertices. But we don't want the arm coming all the way forward on the chest, so we are going to have to add some more loops. First of all, we're just going to add one. We might have to add more into here eventually, but I'm just going to quickly divide this whole thing up together, add that in, which will obviously now ruin the number of loops, down to 8, which means I need to start dividing this line up a little. So that'll be 1, which means I can connect that up. And if I were to subdivide this line again, I can connect that up, which now would mean that we have the correct number. I'm pressing J to do this, by the way. And that should be 11. Yep. Means we need one more, and the convenient place for that would be here, I guess. Actually, probably on the top. Yeah, on the top box. If we're on the top, I want one on the bottom as well, which would then put us to 13. So is there anywhere on this arm where I think I might need more? Not particularly. What about on the body, where I think I could do with less? Probably easily get rid of one layer here. So just evolve this edge, pull this edge down, because that's not going to make it look any different. And if I have a look now, and it should be now 12 verts to 12 verts. Perfect. Let's get this pulled in. Beep, beep, beep. There we go. And I'm going to push it back a little. Not too far, but a little. Okay, so I would like to try and keep the shape of the arm a little, so I don't want to just start pulling it out too much. Which, with that in mind, I want to first make sure I can align it. So I want it about like that. And I did pull it forward a little, so I can actually pull it about to here. And I can push this back a little. Pull this one forward a little. Just making adjustments because I don't want to completely connect everything up straight away. But I can now start matching some parts up. So I'm not afraid to add lines in, even though I'm aware that by adding certain lines in, at last, merge at last rather than okay. So I feel like this makes a good face here. There, it does need to come up a little, I think. Okay, which also means that these make a good face. Now that does not make a good face, but if I pull this up, that actually would start rounding up. Rounding off the shape a little. And I like rounding off shapes. So that would then make this make a good shape. And if this came across, then this goes into here, well, merge at last, which would then make that to make a good shape, which would mean that we need a spot in here, really. I'm not worried about the mess made in there too much, but I'm going to quickly go and hide this. I'm going to delete these bottom faces because we don't want them there, and we don't want them creating extra topology for us on the rest of the mesh. So with that deleted, we can now add in lines, pardon me, lines like that. Oh, I accidentally selected more than I actually wanted to there. Add that and select these. Using C select, X, delete faces. There we go. Now I want to align in here. So we're obviously going to have to add some more lines to the legs when we add the legs. We're trying to keep the rough shape of the body, which can be a little bit awkward because sometimes it means you're trying to sort of keep the shape of a body that's not necessarily shaped very well for what you want. But we'll try to keep it as much as we can because we don't want to change the style, really. All we're trying to do is make the style more appropriate for our goals with the style. So we're keeping the Roblox look while trying to manipulate it to look and act the way we want it to act. Specifically, we want to be focusing on making the clothing not fall off. And we might need an extra loop on the arm here, which would add a loop back onto the back, which we actually already removed one earlier, so I am okay with that, to be honest. I'm going to shift this back up. I'm going to shift this one into its space. There we go. And merge at last. And then the last one here, merge at last. That is a fully connected up body. Now with that all connected, if I now select L here, we got all of this body now. I could actually hit clipping so that it won't pull apart, but obviously I'll do that. Finally, we have the legs. The legs are probably the most awkward part because we created this slight issue between the legs. So I'm going to start off by just connecting these parts here. So I'm going with the most inner one, which is this one. I connected that to here. Now the reason this part is particularly awkward is if I add a line in here, does it go over to the right place? Yes, it does. Good, 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 good. So to add lines in, by the way, all I'm doing is Control R, and then highlight over, and it'll show you where the line goes. I'll try not to do it too much, because you don't want to add in too many lines. And then let's look at the corners. It makes sense for us to combine these in. It's worth noting that I don't actually want a hard edge here, so I'm actually going to select this, scale it in. I don't want to scale it on the Z. I'm just going to pull it in a little. And just evening it out. We will add a bottom similar to like we did on the female one. So apologise for the people that thought I added that for some sort of odd reason. I assure you I did not. A bottom is quite an important part to keeping clothes on, as anyone with a flat bottom will be able to tell you when they try to buy jeans. If you don't have much of a bottom or a chest for that matter, then you start to struggle a little bit with clothes because they don't stay up very well. I myself have to wear a belt for this exact reason. Cool. So I'm mostly adding in lines here because, as you can kind of see, they fit in quite well. And we will even out some of this stuff as we go along, and other parts we will even out as we get closer to the end. Perfect. And because we're rigging it ourselves, we actually don't have to worry too much about the shape being changed too heavily. Normally, if you are using a pre-made rig, you have to somewhat worry about that because you don't want to have to go through and put all the effort into fixing someone else's rig. But because we're using our own, we don't care. I'm going to turn the mirror off a second. Just bring these down a little. And I'm going to need the mirror back on. Extruding on the X. Now I should be able to just go like this and add in that final one there. And on this side, should be able to do the same. That final one in there. Perfect. But it's still a little bit obvious. I'm going to move my distance just in case I made any errors. A little bit obvious of the thing. So I'm actually going to go into sculpting. And it doesn't matter what brush we're in because we're using a smooth brush. I'm just going to, with the strength up higher. You won't notice much of a difference, but if I go onto the G, you'll be able to notice that. Oh, maybe you won't. Okay, so it is working. It's just not working very strong. But okay, so this isn't outside of relax. That's what I'm trying to do. There we go. So back into layout, going to the edit mode. So that actually ruined a lot of stuff, so I'm actually going to undo that. We'll go back into object, make sure nothing got too badly ruined. Okay, so we won't do that one. But I will want to make a bottom eventually. Gonna just try and even these out instead. Put this one up, in, and again with this part here, I'm just going to pull it in a little. I think only on the X. Okay, so I'm just going to select these ones here. So I want that little curve, but I just don't want it to be as strong as it was. And I'm going to go just down the middle here. I'm actually going to bring this in a little, creating that sort of chest bump. I'm also going to, as weird as this probably looks, this is sort of just rounding off those corners, because the corners are very strong in these kind of Roblox models, like incredibly strong. We don't really want that for us, because obviously cloth physics don't particularly like sharp points. So I'm just pushing this one into the middle. There we go. So it's just a slightly more rounded off thing. If we add a subdivision surface on here now, you see that we got some slightly more rounded. I've given it slightly more of a chest. We still need to add a bottom, which we're going to do for around sort of here, not that bottom one. Again, similar to the other one, it does not need to be big. It's just something for sort of jeans to catch on. Because the jeans have to be able to latch on to something. I'm also going to have to pull in the waist just a tiny bit more here, and scale the tiniest bit on the Y. Okay, so those small adjustments aren't going to be massively noticeable in the final thing. It's mostly going to be something that we're able to abuse when it comes to clothing. So these small things are things that if we don't do now, oh, I didn't mention it now, you would later on realize that you wish you had done that, because it just makes everything attaching clothing a lot easier when you have something for the clothing to stick to or cling on to. So now I'm just sort of cleaning up a little bit of the vertices. And we're keeping the chest. If I select this, it should now select everything except the feet. And honestly, I don't think I'm going to remove the feet, but I am going to change them a little. So, scaling the feet down a little, and then moving them a little bit more in. Just so that when it's subdivided, which it always should be, it'll fit. And as you can see, it still doesn't quite fit, so I'm moving them up a little. And what I'm actually going to do is go into this view, just push it in about there, just so it fits. You won't really tell the difference in there. And if I go into this mode, other than the fact that there are some errors which are easily fixed, so we don't care about them massively, you can see that it has in fact worked. So let's go into material mode, and if we do care about these, we could select face mode, have a look at which faces it is causing these issues, and as you can see, it's fairly obviously these. So if we wanted to fix this, I think all we'd have to do would be to pull it up out of here. And these ones. So this face, and again. This one's fine. This one, again. There you go. So not putting too much thought or effort into any of these really. Probably just move all of these over to like here to finish at the bottom of that. Yep, not putting much effort into those fixes. Those are just things that are there. And I don't actually have to bother with the neck and stuff, because the separate mesh will work fine with those, because there's no gaps, and no gaps can or will be created. Whereas the arms and legs create gaps between them, which will pinch the fabric. It's also why I closed this off, because if we're making trousers, it might lean on the feet. Only other thing I'm going to do is select everything, put it onto the floor. Don't have to do that, it'll just bug me if it isn't. So that has our character all connected up, ready for a full rig, which I will do in the next episode, because otherwise this one will just get enormously long. No one wants to follow a 3-hour tutorial. So I hope this one was useful. Obviously, yada yada yada, hit subscribe, like, tell me how amazing I am, or dislike and give me abuse. I'm fine with either, to be honest. But either way, next episode I will move on and start rigging this character, and again that will be a longer one, because I want to go all the way through it, beginning to end, and showing you exactly how I do things. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. Goodbye.